All right, recording started. And as always, if you've never been on one of these kind of calls, it's I usually teach a technique, or we talk about something, or I have someone else teach a technique. I'm trying to get back into that, share some information on that. And then while the recording's going on, I remind everybody, excuse me, to if you comment or make, realize it's being recorded and probably going to get put up, because I don't really edit much. I just put these up as videos for people to watch. And then I turn the recording off, then we can talk. And then, if you want to say something politically incorrect, because God knows I never do that. But so anyway, that's the game plan. So let me explain what this is. Then maybe we'll do a demo of it. And then Miss Michelle has volunteered to do the notes, so she'll put it together in a format. So then you'll have step one, step two, just very simple. As people who've been around my stuff know, I usually don't go into the weeds with a lot of stuff. It's just like, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three, because I work under the presupposition that if you've been trained in NLP or hypnosis competently, it's easy to pick up a technique and kind of understand what's going on. Oh, okay, you have them sit in a movie theater, look on the screen. Okay, you just kind of break it down and then make it yours. So anyway, that's it. So today, because Mr. Goodwin reached out and reminded me about a technique I used to do a lot. I don't know about anybody else, but I have this tendency. I really fall in love with a technique and then do it and do it and do it. Then I get another technique, and it's kind of like dating in high school. I'm massively in love today, but check back in a few months, it may be someone else. But this is a technique I still use occasionally, because it's based on, excuse me, how your brain works. I'm really looping back to, it's all based in neurology, and going back to the original NLP, Bandler and Grinder talked a lot about neurology. Neither one really studied it, but what we know now, a lot of the things that they taught, or Erickson taught, because he passed away in 1980 and didn't do much the last couple of years. So a lot of what we know about how your neurology actually works, they did not know. It's just the science wasn't there to say this is what's going on, right? The NLP and the hypnosis world, going back forever, said, well, this is how it works, right? The whole idea, your mind doesn't know the difference between a real or a vividly imagined event. Great, right? But and now with put you in a mind map, and if you have, I think they did the study where they had someone who loved chocolate cake eat chocolate cake, and they're in the thing being mapped, or their head's got all those little modules on it, the little sensors, and how your brain lights up. And then they had them vividly imagine eating the chocolate cake. The exact same parts of your brain lights up, right? And then they added and did it again, and your body will release the insulin, even though you're not eating it. It'll release it like you're eating it, right? So contrary to what most medical doctors say, they kind of separate mind body. They do to this day, but no, it's interactive, right? So anyway, and of course we know with the reticular activating system that we've talked about since I learned this in 1980, what your brain's looking for, what you're going to focus on is programmable. And now we know that that's actually how your brain works, right? And it's programmable, because that part of our brain developed over eons. That's kind of what we'll be talking about today, to keep you alive, to keep you safe, to keep you secure. So it was always looking for existential threats, as my friend Captain Billy would say, right? And then it's also looking for food, shelter, procreation. I mean, this parts of your brain's always running. Well, we're not being chased by tigers or wild animals. Most of us are not in survival mode to that extent. So our brains can be reprogrammed a little bit easier, right? And so that's why the analogy most of us use is you're looking at a car, you don't know what kind of car you want to buy, and then suddenly you'll see that car everywhere, right? And it's kind of what happens when you have a memory or a process that you can't, it seems like you can't, I don't want to just say forget, but you can't let go of, right? And so you get stuck in it. And the reason it's how you, it's part of that's based in your survival brain. If it was if it's an experience that was highly pleasurable or highly painful, you know, either one tags the emotion, which activates the amygdala a little bit more, and you'll remember it because your brain, you know, the dopamine and the glutamate get released, right? And so you'll look for more of those, right? If it's a threat, suddenly everything will seem a threat, right? Not to be political, but I mean, if you look at the world right now, especially here in the States, there's a lot of people running on everything's a threat, right? And it's just because their brain will find a threat, whether it's there or not is irrelevant, right? And then your glutamate kicks in, right? You get a little bit of a dopamine going because you're going into fight or flight. And then the glutamate also says, go look for all the memories that will support this, right? That these people are a threat or this is a threat or whatever happens to be. So if you have a thing that's been holding you back, right? And you just can't seem to let go of it, right? And so first, there's a few specific steps, and it's based in neurology because your brain knows how to do this. Everyone does it, right? You forget things all the time, right? And it's not that you forget them, they just lose their emotional charge. I'm back where I grew up, basically, right? A town went over from where I grew up, and I've been seeing my family, who I don't see that often because I live in Florida, and they'll be talking about something that at first I don't remember it, right? And because this is how your memory works, it just wasn't a charged event. Then as they described it, then it brought it back, and then I could remember it, right? Yeah, and that's why we get stuck in these tracks, right? Whether it's an obsession, a compulsion, an addiction, you know, bad habit, it's just the way your neurology is working. Right? So let's say there's something you need to get rid of or that you want to let go of. Could be a limiting, you know, part of it's a belief, but if you have a belief that's holding you back, like you can't make money, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, there's some charged memories that are reinforcing it and keeping it in the current. And so what we want to do is look for natural, excuse me, this weather is killing me up here. You want to look for naturally occurring times that your brain does this, you know? So like the first thing we look at is your brain, and you've all had the experience of things that used to be true and now is not, you know? And we're going to start with something light and then we'll move into, so you can make it more charged. But the first thing we want to do is remove some of the emotional charge. So let's, who has a memory that's still negatively impacting them that kind of led to a belief that's holding you back? Does anybody have one of those? Anyone? Bueller? No?
Gina.
Who has one?
Gina's waving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there she is. All right. Unmute yourself.
Hey, I'm nervous. What's gonna happen?
Excellent. Wait, why are you nervous?
Oh, no.
Together we shall. Anyway, so you have you don't have to go into the memory because we don't need to be, you know, it's one thing I love about NLP. We don't have to go into the weeds with everything. But what's the belief that's holding you back that this memory supports?
Um, I guess it comes down to they don't care or he doesn't care. And that, in my mind, equals not worthy of love.
Oh, okay. And you don't, and you want to get rid of this.
Yep. And then my brain looks for all threats anywhere, like super hypervigilance.
Okay. Okay. Well, I always say cool. I don't mean cool.
I understand.
Yeah. But all right. So first thing we want to do is kind of remove some of the emotional charge, right? You may or may not have specific memories of where this started, right? Like as a kid, or and then been might be reinforced through other events in your life,
It was
right?
both.
Yeah. But that's pretty common, right? I've seen it where, a mother or father, you're emotionally charged and you're going there for love, care, and support, and they're like, not now. It's not important. Of course, as an adult, you go, okay, they were busy. It's no big, but and then of course, then the first time it happens in a relationship or on a job, it like, so anyway, so we don't want to necessarily, when I say forget, you don't want to necessarily like erase the memory. I don't know if that's very good, but you can remove the emotional charge, right? And so here's the first thing that we're going to do is, Miss Gina, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and always stress to your inner self that all you're doing is updating your program. Like keep getting this flash on my computer. I got to update Windows or something. I got to update, right? But we don't learn how to update our brains. So you're just going to update it, right? And maybe create some shortcuts like we do on our computers. Because now we do know that we've designed computers to mimic the human mind. And why not use this? So what I want you to do is think of just one of the memories. You don't have to share it, where you began to feel that like not worthy, not good enough, that people don't care, right? And even though if the first memory you pick is when you were a little kid, now you're a beautiful, intelligent, articulate woman, and you can look back and go, well, maybe mom did this or dad or the teacher, but you understand it at one level, but you don't understand it at the visceral level.
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
Would it be more beneficial to use one from childhood or something in recent years that was massive that just
Let's go to childhood first. We're going to do a
Okay.
couple, okay? And if you kind of like look at that memory, like kind of see it disassociated on a movie screen, and as you're watching it, know that it laid the groundwork. So that thing you just mentioned about being massive, the groundwork was laid. It's kind of like if it rains too much, the groundwork's laid for a little rain. The next time becomes a flood, right? And so just kind of see the memory and imagine as you're seeing it, imagine like a drainage clip, if you will, draining off the emotion. You're just seeing the whatever it was, right?
What do you mean a drainage?
Like you're draining off the emotional charge, whatever, in whatever way works for you.
On the screen?
Yeah, like it. One way to do it is like it kind of segues into a black and white movie, which isn't quite as impactful, right? And so you're disassociated. There's no feeling.
Oh.
Okay. You're just kind of watching it. And then now kind of rewrite the memory, not rewrite, but go back as you are now with the insights. Again, you're a beautiful, intelligent, articulate woman. Go back as you are now and spend some time with that younger you and let her see that it was an event. It doesn't have to be the fundamental basis of something. It was just an event, right? And maybe you see it through different eyes with your, whether it was a parent, authority figure, teacher, whoever, whatever it was, and just kind of drain off the emotional charge. And now what I want you to do is just take a deep breath, keep your eyes closed, and think about something that used to be true and now is not. Right? When you were a little kid, maybe you believed in Santa Claus. I mean, you really believed it was emotional. And then you just kind of learned that it wasn't true. You didn't get mad. You didn't go, slap the guy at the mall doing the Santa thing. It's just like that it used to be true and now it's not. Right? So your brain knows how to do this. So now what I want you to do is take that memory that you had, that you drained away the emotion, and put it back into that same part of your mind, wherever it happens to be, that used to be true and now it's not. Maybe it's behind you, maybe it's to the left, to the right. Just like now you can think about times when you were a kid and Santa Claus, if it pops up, and to this day you'll see us, we're going into the Christmas season, there'll be Santas and, might make you smile, might not, but it's like, that it is what it is. Right? So now just let that drift away, telling your brain it's okay. And now let's take it up a notch, or think about the time where it was emotionally charged, when it was a biggie about not feeling worthy, not valued, they don't care, right? And again, watch it and and whatever I say, drain away the emotion, the electrical charge, because that's all emotions are. And even if it is true at the underlying level that they don't care, again, that's an experience. It doesn't have to be a defining basis of anything, right? And again, kind of watch it, disassociated, like up on a movie screen. And then again, as you are now, go back and spend some time with however old you were then. And let her know whatever she needs to know, with the fundamental truth of your self-worth has nothing to do with whether other people care or not. And you know that intellectually, but spend some time you can begin to understand that viscerally. Cool. And taking all the time that you need, kind of take this memory, keeping the memory, right? Because there's markers in there, there's things you want to remember, right? But taking the emotion out and then put that memory back where it's no longer true for you, that it brings up that hypervigilance of people don't care, that you're not worthy. Good. Good. Now let your mind go blank. And what I'd like you to do, Miss Gina, is think about a habit you changed, that some people used to smoke, now they don't. They used to drink, now they don't. You used to eat junk food, now you don't. Think about one of those that when you were doing it, you couldn't imagine not doing it. Whether, you got one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Now what I want you to do is think about that, whatever it was. I could use cigars, or I could use, as everyone knows, alcohol, right? Memories are there, right? But when I think about it, it's way in the back. For me, it's way in the back to the left, and it's dark. right? I can remember all the memories, but it's like, it's dark. It's way in the back for me and dark, wherever it is for you, right? Could be left, right, up, down. Where is it? Just kind of point to it. You don't have to.
Hmm. It's kind of in the center, like the middle, not above or behind or.
And you're glad you don't do whatever this is anymore, correct? Right?
Mhm.
And so now what I want you to do is kind of notice it, the color, the shape, the sound, the feeling, all that kind of stuff, right? That you don't do it anymore. One time you loved it, whatever it happened to be, you know. I self-disclose too much, but when I smoked cigars for a while, I loved it. You couldn't get me to stop, right? Now, some of my friends still smoke cigars, but God love them. I'm glad I don't. Right? And we all have those kind of things. Maybe it's junk food, maybe it is whatever it is. And now what I want you to do, Miss Gina, is take this feeling of the memories and the feeling of not worthy, that people don't care, you know, and which puts you in a state of hypervigilance for looking for more evidence of those two things, and put it right there with whatever this was that you used to love to do and now you don't. Right? So you still remember it. I remember smoking cigars or obviously drinking, but it doesn't come up. And it lets me see things in a true perspective. You know, and in your case, that could be true. That not everybody cares. Not every organization cares. It's just, you know, but it doesn't have to affect your core. Cool. So now what I want you to do is just imagine, I'll just use this term, flip it behind you. It's just gone. In fact, starting now for the rest of your life, Ms. Gina, the more you try to access that feeling of not being worthy, about everybody doesn't care, and feeling in a state of hypervigilance, the more you try to access it, the more it disappears. The more you try to access it, the more it just disappears, right? You have this structure of the memory, you remember the events, but there's no emotional charge, kind of like how I remember 80% of my high school. I can remember some of the memories, right? And so just the more you try to access it, the more it goes away. And so now what I want you to do is, let's have a game. Step into your mind and imagine in the future you're going to be doing something. I'll use an analogy. You can just kind of float with me for a moment. Let's say you're at a store or retail, and you get the feeling they just don't care, right? So instead of getting hypervigilant, you go, they just don't care. Yeah, they're minimum wage employees. Or whatever it is. It doesn't affect you viscerally, because you also think about times where maybe what you did comes off to other people like, you don't care. And it's not you don't care. It's just that you don't care in the way that they care. Cool. And
What was it again? That they don't care the way I care. What was that last part?
when you take
when I've
something
done
like
it
they don't care, it's not that they may care, but not the way you care.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And you can just think about that. And now try in vain to access that feeling. The next time you just get the inkling of it. And maybe you just go into analyze mode, Maybe not. Okay, so take a deep breath. Open your eyes. How do you feel?
Weird.
Weird? Yeah, I don't care.
It was
Well,
weird because when you said put those things together in the mind, like the thing I used to do that's not important anymore, that whatever, and put them together and then just flip it to the back, it was like, and I think I might have been like doing this because I was like,
yeah.
what am I seeing? It was what I saw was it like rolling off my back like a boulder kind of goes down a mountain. And as it went farther down and hit the floor, it became like this little pebble
Oh,
that if you like stepped on it, it would probably crush or just get stuck in your shoe or something. Like, and I just was like I was just seeing that happen. Like I wasn't trying to do that, it just that's just what I was seeing. I was like,
cool.
but is there a way to test this or
Well, it's gonna be naturally tested, I can guarantee you, because you're gonna run into people, places, and things which will present with, they don't care, you know. And but it doesn't have to affect you the way that it was, right? And you don't go into hypervigilance because they don't care. You're at the store and arguing, and they don't care. Doesn't mean you have to like look at your whole world like a threat, you know. And even those closest to us, sometimes we'll get those feelings. It's like, don't you care? And they're like, yes, but they weren't aware, you know. I think it was Erickson said once, there's a difference between not caring and not being aware, you know.
not being aware of what?
Like what I'm doing, what it's causing in you.
So you can see that someone just might not care, but
And they're not yeah, or you perceive it as they don't care, but whatever they're doing, they're not aware that it's impacting you.
oh,
Cool. Cool. All right. We'll
well,
await with bated breath on feedback on this. Cool. All right. Is, is that the way you remember it, Todd? Sort of?
Yeah, I knew you. Thank you, Will, for this, by the way. I knew you'd ask me that, and the problem is I did the technique on the memory of when you did the technique on me, so I don't even remember. Just kidding. Um,
I
I,
install amnesia when you're paying me. No.
yeah, exactly. No, yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't remember the the first part with the black and white and kind of reparenting or stepping into the movie. I don't remember that. I do remember definitely there was a visual submodality shift and then a true for you then, not true for you now kind of pattern. Again, this was almost 13 years ago, and I don't even remember what the, what the thing was that I was supposed to not feel or remember. But I do remember the experience of afterwards of feeling like I couldn't get to it. Like I knew there was something there, but I couldn't even verbalize what it was about. And the other people in the workshop were asking me, because I had just said it a few minutes before, and they were asking me what was it? And I couldn't, it was almost like on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't say it. I didn't, it was almost like a stage hypnosis trick where I forgot the number seven or something. It blew my mind, and I don't remember if it ever wore off, but it wasn't, it clearly didn't seem to be a problem from that point on. Of course, I don't even know what it was, so who knows? But so it was similar, I think, but it was much more about. I know the whole Santa Claus thing, and there was much more about a like a visual submodality shift. The thing that I just want to mention that I typically have trouble with those when I'm on the receiving end of these submodality exercises about like where it is in my visual field is usually whatever it is, true or false, past or present, bad or good, it tends to be right in front of me. And I don't know if that's just because I have trouble with that experience, but even with like timeline uh,
Right here.
therapy, it's right there. And I don't know if that makes sense that it should all be right there. So if something that's a problem and is very salient to me, presumably is right there in front of me, but something like Santa Claus is also in front of me, how is that possible? And is that even, does that invalidate the technique for me?
No, it doesn't. Well, obviously it didn't. It worked for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I think you're talking, I don't want to sound like Bandler BS or Eric, but part of it you're talking, when you bring it to your consciousness, it's probably right here.
Right.
This is what you're focusing on. Doesn't mean that there's not programs running in the background. Like right now we're on Zoom, but all this other shit's going on in our computer, right? The internet connections, the this and the that. So
So I have a question, just techniquey about that. Is it ever, do you find in your experience it's ever helpful or could it be beneficial to deliberately, let's just say the thing that Gina thought of, which was right here, whether it was something she used to do or the memory from childhood or whatever it was. Could you ever arbitrarily tell your client to, kind of like a swish related thing, shrink it down, make it black and white, put it over far in the corner where it's really hard to even see it.
yeah,
And you're deliberately putting it there, even though the brain has not coded it that way, you're artificially telling it where to go.
yeah. That's why I just use throw it behind you.
Okay.
Because your language says, well, that's behind me now. My drinking's behind me, my smoking's behind me. Right. So she did it where she flipped it behind her, the boulder. That was a cool analogy too, or metaphor, right? The boulder rolling down and now it's a pebble, right?
And
So
what about blocking? Because I'm just thinking how I would improvise this. I would probably think, okay, let's put something in front of it so that it's
you could,
blocking
yeah.
it. It's blocking it. I don't know what you'd put there, but maybe a more resourceful interpretation to the they don't care.
Yeah.
And whatever, however that is visually represented, put that in front. So whenever you try to access that, the old, the memory or whatever the seed
Yeah, a
was.
filter, a
Yeah,
filter.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You remember what it, yeah, you remember it differently. And your brain does that all the time, does it not?
Hmm.
Because you ever find something out like you thought one of your parents was bad about something, then you find out why they did what they did or what was the underlying, oh, and it rewrites all the memories, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I used to, yeah, I had a client said, yeah, they were like really mad because their dad was so cheap. Then you found out there were several years in childhood, they were lucky to eat 3 times a week, which made him become very frugal about everything. Right. And so it rewrote all those memories in a new way. It's like, oh, that's why, you know, cool.
So I still remember what it was. Like Todd was saying, when he did it 20 years ago, he didn't even know what the heck he said a few minutes ago. I remember what it was. So is it just the feelings that are, quote, forgotten or less relevant?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you can now flip them over to like things from high school that you kind of remember, but it's not important to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like trigonometry. It's like, you know, I don't think I've had to do a hypotenuse since high school or college or whatever it was. So, cool. All right.
Hey, Will, I have one other quick question.
Yes, sir.
in like the techniques within the master practitioner or any of or the basic any of those that you have already or even other ones that might be on your site, are there any other techniques that you feel would be a good complement to this to do before, after, or together with this to magnify its effect? Or let me be presumptuous and say, which other techniques do you feel would be a good complement?
Well, probably one, my default usually is the visual squash,
Oh, okay.
where you're keeping the intent of what, you know, to be, what's the party that wants to do something that would be a good one. And you brought one thing up. It's like I played with, I haven't done lately, is when I work with people, I do the stage hypnosis. Forget. The more you try to bring it up, the more it's gone, right? And as long as all of us, that everybody here I know does this kind of stuff. You ever work with somebody like on a phobia and it worked, and they went and tested it, it worked, and then they talked themselves into the phobia again. And usually it's the family member. Remember you couldn't even drive over a goddamn bridge, man. You'd be sweating. Look at that, man. You remember what that? And they're so vivid. They're doing great waking hypnosis, and then because I just had a guy who had phobia of bridges, and so I said, shit, we did it after a meeting. I'm just like, da, 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 da. And he's like, I could drive over a bridge. Then he started talking to his sister, and she reinstalled it. I don't, not vindictively. It's just like, wow, that used to freak out so much.
She just didn't care.
Yeah, she didn't care.
She wasn't aware.
She wasn't aware. I'm
She didn't know
aware I
the
don't
power of her
care.
words.
All right, everyone. Well, next.
I have a suggestion, Todd and Dr. Will. Sometimes when it's something I think is a little more severe or a little you wanna boost it sort of, is to do a little tapping. Whether or not you do a full round, I'm not saying that, but even just going like this and preparing yourself or, whatever, but the EFT stuff, I just like to do that.
Oh yeah, that would work.
And it just feels good too, right here. I just love that. And get rid of the wrinkles right there. But no, it really does. I think EFT helps a little bit. Dr. Will would always tell us to, if it was something a little severe or a little, it was like grease or lubrication for your brain so that your technique slides right in.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's you. You said that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I probably stole it from somebody else. I'm not that smart. All right, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Pardon?
Thank you.
And Todd.
Yes, sir.
Todd,
Yes, sir.
one of these days I want to do an NLP Today interview with you.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And one thing I still love that thing about the plant.
About the what?
The plant that used to do at BNI.
Oh. Right, yes.
Tell that story real quick. Let me pin you. This is great.
Okay. Well, let's see. I actually have a video somewhere of that someone recorded when I was doing that. I've done it a number of times, but I haven't for years. So you mean the story of like what the context was?
Yeah, you out by the roots.
Yeah. So I was in a networking group where I would give like a 30-second, 40-second commercial about my practice and what I'm looking for and what I do and all that. And so one of the shticks that I would use as sort of a memory hook at the end would be say something. I would relate it occasionally to, I would bring in like a potted plant, like a weed or whatever, growing, not weed, but a weed growing in a pot of dirt. And so I would talk about, I help with a variety of these issues, whether it's anxiety or bad habits or whatever, but those are really just symptoms. They're not the underlying cause. Those are like the leaves or the stem, but they're not the roots, something like that. I don't remember the specifics. And then at the end, I would say, I'm Todd Goodwin, board certified hypnotist, and I get to the root of the problem. And I would grab the plant and I would yank it out of the pot, and the dirt would go flying everywhere. And usually that would get a lot of applause because it's so visual and so unexpected and it's so big. It's not just verbal, but it's actually, and so people remember yanking out the roots, because I think that with the metaphor I gave is that if you can just analyze the weed, but you still have a weed. You can try to trim it, but it's likely to grow back. But if you pull out the roots, then it's gone, along with all of the things that come from the roots. That's what it was. And so they get the point of, as a hypnotist, I get to the root of the problem and that resolves everything. And then they see that and the dirt going flying. And, so I think I told you, Will, that if you were going to do it, make sure there's a lot of like loose dirt in there that when you pull it out, the dirt goes flying, because you want to make it as big and messy as you can.
Yeah. Like when I did the wolf trap, and I would
Yes.
I'd get the carrot because it would splatter all over everybody.
Oh yeah. Well, when you did the wolf trap with me, I think it was a
Pencil.
number 2 pencil, snapped it right in half.
Yeah.
So, but you've seen the video of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. And that's Todd, the Roto-Rooter Goodwin.
Did you have to sweep up the dirt afterwards?
Yeah. Oh, that's another analogy. Yeah, never mind. All right, everyone.
I don't know. But that's a good, I don't remember that, but it might have been because I did that technique and I forget, but.
Cool. All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Will.
Thanks, Dr. Will.
Thank you. Bye.